What's going on, everyone? So, per Woj, after signing JaVale McGee to a free agent deal, the Sacramento Kings are waiving center Nerlens Noel and Neemias Queta to give them a chance to play elsewhere. Both signed partially guaranteed one-year deals with the Kings this summer. Now, you look at the Lakers, and they're pretty much set, right? They have 14 players on the roster. 12 of these guys you could make an argument for in the starting unit. And they just got that center that they've been waiting on in Christian Wood. So now the Lakers have Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes. They also have Anthony Davis. However, Anthony Davis doesn't really want to play the 5. He wants to play the 4. And yes, playoffs become a completely different conversation, just like that 2020 year where Anthony Davis was pretty much the 4 the entirety of the season. Once they got into the playoffs, he played the 5, especially in big games, big moments, down the stretch, to end games, things like that. The Lakers have publicly talked about how they kind of want to get back to that, play 2 bigs alongside Anthony Davis, allow Anthony Davis to play less at the 5, and kind of give him support in that regards. Well, one of the things that the Lakers could do with the 15th roster spot is go get another center. Because Christian Wood was a great pickup. I think he is the cherry on top of the sundae. The Lakers were already a contender. I think Christian Wood makes them that much better. And he is a guy that can absolutely play the 5 and very likely could even start at the 5 for the Lakers, especially if Anthony Davis is really like, I don't really want to play the 5 at all during the regular season. So we'll see how that develops and how that grows and what ends up happening there. But Christian Wood isn't really, he's more of a power forward than he is a center. He's 6'10", 7'3" wingspan, so he's got the size and the length, but he's not physical, and he doesn't really have the weight that you need against some of the bigger centers in the league. Valanciunas, Steven Adams, Joel Embiid, Jokic, right? These big body centers, the Lakers could use somebody a little more in that department, right? Or just even another body at the center position, right? Anthony Davis is going to miss 20 plus games, right? When that happens, probably slide Christian Wood to the 4. If you went and brought in another center, now you got Jackson Hayes in that other center as a backup. But you need guys that kind of are willing to buy in and understand the role. Nerlens Noel, he's a guy that could kind of fit in. He's not that kind of big body center, right? He's still a little on the thinner side, but he's 6'10", 7'4" wingspan. Right, like he's a guy that is a veteran. He's still only 29 years old, so he's on the right side of 30. He's not a guy that's going to demand a bunch of minutes and a bunch of playing time. He's just kind of at that position now where he's just kind of happy to be on a roster. And it's not like these last few years he's gotten a ton of playing time and a ton of minutes. He's kind of been a journeyman, right? But he is a guy that in spots and in stretches can provide just relief, right? He's a guy that could be a JaVale McGee, right? High energy, rebound, block a shot here and there, be a good help defender. He's not going to give you much on the offensive end, but he's a guy that can bring a little stability, right? He's a guy that go get you, 4 to 6 points a game and go get you like 4 to 6 rebounds a game, depending on the playing time, of course, right? If he's only playing like 3 minutes a game, well then yeah, can't expect that. But no, like you look at years where like he was on Philly and he played 29 minutes and he was giving you basically 11 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, right? Like the guy has had years where he's shown a lot of promise. Now, I don't think that he's a starting level guy. I don't think that he's a guy that you're putting him and Anthony Davis in your starting unit. I think he is the third big, right? I think he is the third at the center position. Problem is, one, he has the lawsuit and history with Clutch, LeBron James and his people. So I don't really think that is something that the Lakers would bring him on for, right? I don't think that that's something that the Lakers would want to deal with unless, of course, LeBron signs off on it. If LeBron says, hey, you know what? We need a big body, Nerlens Noel, he's one of the better options out there, let's go get him, then sure, right? But does Nerlens Noel want to go to the Lakers? That's something else. However, he needs to go wherever he can go. It's better than not being on a team, period. That is something to keep in mind. But overall, personally, I think Nerlens Noel is a guy that the Lakers should stay away from, right? I do. I would rather go get I'd rather go get a Myers Leonard, somebody like that, than go bring Nerlens Noel. I just think that he's a guy that, if he's at the end of your bench as like that break glass in case of emergency or playing in garbage time, or, again, Anthony Davis is taking the night off and you just need a serviceable body for 8 minutes on a night, sure. But to be a guy that maybe you rely on and, he's kind of like your second or third big, kind of stay away from him. So I'd rather go with like a Myers Leonard or go with the other guy that was waived in Queta, right? So he's a guy, 24 years old, so he's still very young, 7 foot height, and he's 250 pounds. He's got the body, he's got the stock, he's got the size to where he could really be a guy that is definitely a project. He's a project guy. But he's a guy that you could throw out there and he could kind of bang with the big boys, right? Which is kind of what the Lakers need. He was drafted in 2021. He was the second pick, I think the 39th pick. Yeah, 39th pick. And again, not a guy that's really going to jump out. He's a guy that hasn't really played much at all for Sacramento. He's averaged about 7.5 minutes per game for his career. His first year, his rookie year, he averaged 8 minutes. He played 15 games, which, again, very small sample size. Gave you 3 points, 3 rebounds. We'll round up very nicely here, but gave you 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block, right? His, per 32 minutes, though, is actually pretty good, right? Or if you go to his per 36, well, we'll go with the per 32, right? So if you go to his per 32, he's basically 12 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 4 blocks. Again, that's assuming everything is 4X. But, he's a guy that has some upside and promise. He's 66% from the field. He doesn't provide any floor spacing. He hasn't taken a single 3-point attempt his career. Granted, it's 2 years and he's playing very limited minutes. He also only averages about 2 field goal attempts per game. And his rookie year, he was 44.7%, which is not good. This past year, he was 66.7% on 1.8 attempts per game. Again, a very, very, very raw development big man. But he has the size, he has the strength, he has the versatility that you could look for in this type of guy. And again, he's a guy that is not going to be playing very much, if at all. So that's why I don't hate the idea. Personally, I don't believe the Lakers bring anybody. I don't. I think that they leave the 15th roster spot open. I think they wait to see what happens with the buyout, what happens with the trade market, what happens, how do things look, right? How does this season kind of play out? And then as we get closer to buyout market and then obviously the playoffs, that's when I think the Lakers will kind of look to maybe add somebody. Kind of like what they did this last year, right? They left the roster spot open right before the playoffs. They signed Tristan Thompson. That is probably what the Lakers do this year. So I personally don't think either of these guys are going to be on the roster, but I wouldn't hate if the Lakers brought them on a training camp deal. Bring them both in on a training camp deal, see what they look like. Worst case scenario, they don't look like anything and you just, hey, thanks for participating, good luck to you. Best case scenario, one of them really shines, right? My only problem with a development big is we already have 2 of those. Right, which is why I really lean towards a veteran center. And I've talked about this a lot, right? If you're going to sign another center, I personally think you should bring a veteran in. Because you already have Jackson Hayes, who is 23, is very raw, needs some work. And then you have Colin Castleton, who's on a two-way that, again, is very raw, needs some work. Both guys have a lot of promise. Both guys look very good. Both guys are guys that I could see in the Lakers' future, right? I could see either of those guys getting heavy minutes at the center position for the Lakers at some point, right? Jackson Hayes might actually get it this year. We'll see, right? But do you really want to bring in another project guy that you need to work on? And yes, he's a big body and you just kind of have him just to have him. At that point, I'm not really big on like Dwight Howard or anything like that, but like if you're solely signing a guy for a Jokic matchup, then you might as well go get him because you're only asking him to play like 5 minutes a game just to basically draw fouls and, give some good hard fouls on Jokic, right? Not anything crazy. I'm talking about, we all know what a good playoff foul is, right? Like just be physical with them, right? That's all you're looking for. You could make the argument, well, that's kind of why you'd want to go for the young guy because he's high energy, high motor, kind of just you can throw him out there and he could just keep banging, like energize Bunny over and over and over and over. Sure. I like the idea of the veteran guy just because, again, it gives you locker room stability, guy that could be a mentor, right? Like, I'd rather go get a DeMarcus Cousins because at least you could put him on the court and trust him and he could play and he could actually do things. He block shots, he could rebound, he can, hit the outside shot, right? He could pass. He's an underrated passer. He's a guy that is comfortable and has been in big moments and has been in the finals and all that. Like, that's just kind of how I lean. But as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Would you want either of these guys on the Lakers? Do you think no, stay as far away from them as possible? Do you think bring them in on a training camp deal? See what it looks like? Doesn't hurt, which I totally okay with. Like, why not? Bring them in on training camp deals and see how it looks. Right? But again, have a feel whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.